Hello everyone, welcome to a tutorial on OBS settings for 2016. And first of all, to start off, I recommend getting OBS Studio instead of OBS Classic if you are contemplating getting either one. If you want to do that, just go to obsproject.com. There will be a link in the description and get the Studio version. That's what I'm going to be doing this over today. It's the newest one, most features, etc. So anyways, once you open up OBS, you'll get a screen similar to mine. Mine probably looks a little bit different than yours, but I'll show you how to get everything looking similar. So what I'm going to do for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to create a new profile. And if you want to do this too, for instance, if you're going to be doing live streaming and recording or different things, like if you want one for tutorials or just regular recording, etc., you can create new profiles, have different output qualities set for different ones. So once you've got whatever you want to do with your profiles, I generally just use main. You can go into settings right down in the bottom right, and then on here you can either change between default or dark. I like dark. I think it looks way better, so you can do that too. But yeah, this is all basic stuff. This will go between your profiles. I'm pretty sure about that. I like to have a confirmation dialog when starting streams, so what that will do is when you start a stream, it will tell you, are you sure you want to start this? And then I guess I might as well apply the stopping stream because I might accidentally stop that. So this is the general stuff. This is all whatever you want to do. Like you can record while you're streaming too, all sort of that stuff. But I mostly just leave all this how it is. I don't really mess with that much. So for streaming, what you can do here, I just basically just do the streaming services. This one's different. Well, it's more complicated that way. I've never used this before, so I honestly can't tell you too much about that. Service, this is all your things you want to stream to. I use YouTube Gaming and YouTube. You can do show all services for stuff that isn't so mainstream, like this here. But I just don't use that. You can do the server too, all that. But when you switch to YouTube, it switches it as well. So anyways, that's that. And your stream key, what that is, usually, well, pretty much all the time, your streaming service will provide you with a key that you input into here, and this will make it so only this program right here is able to input video into it. That'll make it so it'll tell it where to send the video to, basically, what account to stream it on. So once you got that there set to all you want, now you can go into output here. And I keep this on simple, or excuse me, no. I meant to say I keep this on advanced, so I recommend switching that too. Streaming, I don't do much streaming, but when I do, these are the things I use for it. Now the encoder, I would recommend using X264 if you are playing games that are like highly graphic intensive or whatever. For instance, when I play Dead by Daylight and I record that, I was actually recording, well, basically, let me just start from the beginning. You see how it says NVENC, which is NVIDIA encoder. I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so that will utilize the graphics card for the recording. It won't use, like, the CPU pretty much. I mean, of course it has to use the CPU a little bit, but your graphics card will be doing the recording. But you can run into a problem there, because if you're running a game with pretty decent graphics, like it's very intensive on the graphics card, like Dead by Daylight can be at sometimes, when I'm recording with the graphics card and I'm running a game like that, it can get a little laggy there, so just keep in mind what kind of graphics card you have. So what I've done now is I switched to X264, which is software based, not hardware based, and what this does is I can utilize my CPU more while letting my graphics card handle the games. So I get the best quality for either one. So that's that. Rescale output, I highly recommend you do rescale output, because what that will do is you can set your settings for like 720p and 1080p, all sorts of this. I use 1080p pretty much all the time, but when I'm streaming I mostly do 720p because you're streaming. It doesn't have to be the best. It can if you want. And also your internet will highly affect this as well. So just keep in mind that as well. CBR is a constant bit rate. ABR, I actually don't know what ABR and CRF, I cannot remember what those are. But anyways, CBR and VBR are the most common ones that you'll go between. CBR is constant bit rate and VBR is variable bit rate. I don't know what these are. I might look them up later, put them in the description. But you most likely don't need to know those. CBR and VBR are the most important. So what CBR will do is it will always output 2,500 kilobytes basically. And this is really important when it comes to your video editor. Like mine, I use PowerDirector 14. When I'm editing, I need a constant bit rate. It's not compatible with a variable bit rate. So on constant bit rate, it will always have 2,500. So I highly recommend you do that. And what you can do, depending on the type of quality you want it as, what type of quality you're outputting your video in, the higher the bit rate you should have. Because if I'm going to put it in very simple terms, the higher the bit rate, the more colors there are on the screen. It'll look a little blurry if your bit rate is low, like what I did when I was first messing around and recording videos on OBS. I had to increase my bit rate a lot because I would find it in 1080p 60 FPS there would be a lot of blurriness because the bit rate was low. It wasn't capturing so many colors, so a lot of things would blend together. So just keep in mind that. So increase that if you can. But it will be a tiny bit more intensive, but not much. And file sizes are bigger. That's the main difference between a low bit rate and a high bit rate. File sizes are drastically different depending on what you do. But for streaming, you don't really need a big bit rate because you're outputting in 720p like I recommend. You don't need a really high one, but I just generally up it to 4,000 or so, just so it gets better experience. Keyframe interval, just leave that on auto. This is perfectly fine. CPU usage. So I did not understand this higher equals less CPU. It took me a long time to figure out what that meant. So I went through pretty much every one of these options, checked my CPU usage. You can see that down here. I checked my CPU usage while recording, and what I found is, so higher is less CPU. If you go to ultra fast, it'll use the less amount of CPU. If you go on placebo, that will rocket your CPU usage way up there. When I was recording just a black screen, my CPU usage was at 30%. And you can tell that'll make a huge difference when you're actually doing stuff. So I use very fast is what it is, just the default setting, and it works just fine. So I recommend doing the same thing as well. But if you're on an older computer, try upping your CPU usage if you're not getting the right results. Just play around with that mostly. But if you constantly utilize your CPU a ton, that's not really good for it, is what I've heard. Profile, you can keep this on none. And tune, just keep it on none. These are perfectly fine. So X264 options separated by space, you do not need to worry about this right here. Unless you're a very advanced user, which I'm not that advanced. I don't really use these. Variable frame rate is also another thing that will come into account with your editor and pretty much every service you're going to upload to. I highly don't recommend using a variable frame rate because that could mean your video jumps from 10 FPS up to 60 FPS within a second or so, and that'll like change it depending on your performance right there. I don't recommend doing that. I just recommend keeping a constant frame rate and then adjusting that to your computer specs. So that's pretty much it for streaming. Audio track 1, we'll get into more of this in just a little bit. But if you go into recording, change this just to standard. If it's on custom, just leave it on standard. I didn't mean to say change. Your recording path, definitely change this if you want because it puts it in your videos thing, which I don't like. Oh, that's strange why those are there. But anyways, I created a folder on my desktop called YouTube, and I just go in here and I made an output folder. It's So that's what it does. And I just select the output folder. So when I record, all my videos will go there. And generate file with name without space. I don't see why you would want to do that. I don't do that. So just, it's personal preference there. Recording format. I don't recommend keeping it on FLV because I personally have not seen a ton of things that are compatible with it. I may be wrong. You may tell me that no, everything uses FLV, but I recommend doing MP4 just because it's probably the most universal one. AVI and MP4, most universal. Audio tracks here. Once again, I'll get into that in just a little bit, but audio tracks can be confusing, especially if you're recording a lot of different things at once and you want to mix them all together. And also take into account your editor may not be compatible with this. Like mine, it's not compatible with it, which I'm kind of sad about, but that doesn't really matter. So the encoder, you can set it to use stream encoder if you want. So if you change your streaming one, it'll change your recording one. I just go in here. I use X264 again. I already went over this, so just do X264. Do rescale output to whatever one you want. I do 1080p. And then CBR, which constant bitrate again, I leave it on here. And what I do, I believe, I can't totally remember what I do, but I believe I do about 12,500 for my bitrate on here. And that changes definitely on your computer specs and the file size you're wishing for and the quality you're recording in. So yeah, that changes a lot of stuff in your video. This is really important. If you're getting blurriness in your video, try changing your bitrate. That might fix some stuff. If not, I don't know, ask me in the comments. I'll do some research on it. Ask anything in the comments. I'll try and figure out the answer for you. If I already have the answer, I'll tell you. Keyframe interval, just leave that on 0. It's perfectly fine how it is. Again, CPU usage, all the same here. The same thing as streaming, just leave that on none. Variable frame rate, no, I don't do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this right here. If you go over into audio, this is where I was saying we were going to get into the audio stuff. So track 1 here. Alright, hold on. Let me just show you this audio tab first. So your sample rate, I recommend doing it on 48 kilohertz. And yes, it must be restarted, but it's worth it. It's better quality on your audio channels. Keep it on stereo, or stereo, however you pronounce it, stereo. Sure, whatever. But desktop audio device, if you're going to be recording games and stuff, this is really important right here. This is your game sound basically, or your computer sound, and you can have multiple of these in here. You can have 1 and 2. I leave it on default. I've already changed up my stuff in here, so if you go into playback devices, I'm just going to do a full tutorial. Default right here is this. So if it has the check next to it, the green check mark, then that is your default device, and what that will do is it'll take the audio that's going to my headset that I'm wearing right now, and that will be recorded as well. So you'll get all the sounds on your computer. This one's disabled by default. You can mess around with this later. I don't have much experience in the audio side of recording. I hope to later. I hope to get a lot of experience in all this. But yeah, that's your personal preference there. Microphone and auxiliary audio device. This here, of course, is your microphone. That one just makes sense. Put it on whatever one you've set to be your default communication device or recording device. I have set mine to here, set default, got the check mark. So set it to that in there. These are disabled by default. Again, whatever you want there. So now that you've got that covered, you can head back over to the output and audio tab, and now you'll see what we mean by this in just a second. So here's your track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. And what this is, you may or may not have noticed that this is selected on audio track 1, and so is this. That's strange. Wait, never mind. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I was just realizing something in my mind about that setting there. But anyways, on track 1, this is I can't remember the term. Audio bitrate. Yeah, whatever. It says it right there. Put it on 192 if you're going to be just recording your microphone from that, but 160 is normally fine for all your audio. By default, all of the things that you're recording, uh-oh, sorry about that. By default, all of the things that you are recording will be put into track 1. So with that said, just leave it on 160. Track 2 and track 3 and track 4 are your personal preference. I'll get into this more later. This thing, audio, is all the settings are all over the place, so I will keep going over that a little later. So let's skip over to video. Now this is probably the main reason for you recording. You want your video in there, unless you're just doing a podcast or whatever. But anyways, you want your video in there. So this is the base canvas resolution. I believe by default it's your monitor resolution. That's my monitor resolution. Some may be 1366 by 728, etc. It can vary a lot. But I basically just put that on your monitor size. That's pretty much what you need to know. The output and scaled resolution. This is what your full video output is going to be for recording. But we already did this in streaming. Where is it? Right here. Rescale output. It'll send it to your streaming service in 720p. But here, when you're recording, this is how it's going to look when you're done recording. So I'm going to do 1080p just because I can. And I like 1080p. Downscale filter. This depends on your output size mostly, but basically what it is bilinear. It's the fastest thing, so it will encode the fastest. But if you're scaling the resolution, for instance, here's an example of this. If you're playing Happy Wheels like in non-full screen mode on your browser and you're recording that like in a little window or whatever, you selected that, and you're recording that, that is a small portion on your screen. So that's not gonna be 1080p right away. So if you're gonna scale it to 1080p, it's gonna be blurry. So this is what that does, is that it'll make it the best looking way, but it will take a little more time for it to encode, and I don't know if it may or may not affect your file size. I don't think it does that much. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments. But anyways, this is the scaling of it, basically. It goes along with that. Sorry for that kind of bad explanation. I don't know a ton about bicubic downscale filters and all that. But anyways, just leave it on default. Whatever. Just default is fine, just like that. Common FPS values. That's this stuff right here. Just leave it on common. It depends on your editor as well. Like mine, I can't select 30, even though in the editor it's selected as 30. It really wants 29.97. I don't know why. I think it's kind of dumb that there's these strange, weird frames. FPS. I lost my words. I'm sorry. I find it kind of strange about that. But anyways, just put it on 59.94, 60 FPS if you want 60 FPS. This, even though it's 59, it will still classify it as 60 FPS. And this one, same thing, 30 FPS. Main thing here, you want either 30 or 60. That's pretty much the base you want. You don't really want 48, 10, or 20. Just try recording in this. But if you are only able to get like 10 FPS, 20 FPS on your computer in general, you might just want to record in 20 FPS. It'll save you some encoding time, be a little faster. But I'll put it on 29 FPS just because. And now if you go into the hotkeys, this is totally up to you. For starting a stream, I don't like doing hotkeys because I like to actually go in and click start and stop, not accidentally press a key and stop it without knowing. But again, that's for your warnings here. But if you go back here, start recording. This is the main reason I use OBS, but again, I use it for streaming as well. Okay, well, I just figured out that I forgot. I cannot press the asterisk key. So yeah, you put that as you want. That's why that weird cut was right there, because that's what I use. I'm recording with Bandicam right now, and I just stopped that recording real fast. But anyways, that you set it to what you want. So if you want to start a recording with G, go ahead and do that. Just make sure it doesn't run into other keybinds. So yeah, studio mode. I don't really know what studio mode is. I know in the preview it places two screens next to each other. I don't know. I don't use studio mode. So don't ask me on that stuff there. But transition, this can be kind of useful depending on what you're doing. But I believe what it is if you want to put a transition in between your video, just because I'm going to just press the right arrow key. So when I'm recording, I press the right arrow key, it'll put like a transition in there. And if you do a quick transition, this will make it do a little cut real fast. So I'll basically pause your recording and then start it again. So I think you do have to press it twice. I've never used that before. I just stop recording and start recording again. I probably shouldn't, so I could get moments in between if I need to. But yeah, same thing for the fade. This is just saying it lasts 300 milliseconds, the fade. So same thing for that. It'll just put a fade in between. But yeah, that's pretty much it for keybinds. Here's this stuff. You can hide your capture if you want. So if you're recording a game and all of a sudden something pops up in the game that you don't want to record or something, or like your account information pops up or something, you can hide it real fast and then you can edit that out of the video, whatever. Yeah. Desktop audio, mute and unmute. Again, you can set that to whatever you want. These are all your microphone stuff here, all your scene stuff. This is totally up to you. Just explaining that, just very thoroughly, kind of. Advanced, you don't need to change anything in here besides this right here. This is pretty much the only thing you'll ever need to change in here, unless you want to change stream delay and your file format, but you probably won't ever need to change much. This will make it so the higher it is, so if you put it on high, it'll make it so your computer will focus on recording more than other applications, and what that will do is most likely get the better output. So if you're on a lower end computer, put it on a higher thing, but I'm fine, so I can just leave it on normal because it balances them out pretty well on mine. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if I don't know why you would want to do idle. If you want a bad recording, just do idle, I think. So yeah, that's it for the options for the settings in here. I'm going to show you a little bit about this right here. This is basic right here. Scene collection, all that. Here's your scenes and your sources and stuff. So again, if you remember, I was talking about audio and how you can configure all this. So if you go to the mixer, click this little gear right here. This is where you get all this track stuff set up. So my microphone auxiliary, again, this also determines what will pop up here if you have it disabled or enabled. You can put this as mono, so like my voice will be just mono. I don't recommend putting it in mono, but you can. Volume, you can just change that in here, or you can change it in here as well, percentage wise. Panning, if I guess, I don't know why, if there's a bug or something where it's recording more of your right sound, like it outputs more in your right, I guess you could change this a little bit. This is basically, if it's in stereo and you put it all the way on left, it'll only play out of the left speaker or your left headphone or something like that. I'm sorry I'm doing a bad job at explaining this stuff, but I'm not the greatest in audio, so that's why. And you can do an offset. I don't recommend doing an offset. That just doesn't make sense to me, but they put another feature in there. If you really need to use an offset, that's what you do right there. What this will do is it'll make it so your voice is behind the video. Again, I don't know why you would do that, but you can. In tracks here, this is where it can get a little tricky, and on the side where it may or may not cost you some more money if you were to get like a physical mixer. That's what I want. I personally think that is a good choice to do, because what you can do then is you can plug in or connect your microphone to your mixer, and that is connected to your computer. So what you can do is you can put your microphone in only track number 2, and then you can put your desktop audio in track number 3. So if your editor is compatible, then you can go into your editor and just change the audio each track. So I can only, that would enable me to change my voice if I'm a little too quiet without affecting any other audio. Again, that goes along if your editor is compatible and if you're willing to do it, I guess. But yeah, that can get a little more tricky, but there's not much to it. This right here, you can do filters and properties. I've never done any filters. Properties here, you don't really need to do anything. This is just changing the device. Timestamps, sure, just leave it default there. That won't affect anything, really. Sources here, this is really important because this is how you're going to get your video. So when I create a new profile, it keeps my sources, I guess. I wish it didn't do that. OBS, if you know how to do this. If anyone knows how to do this, just tell me if there's a way that I can change this. But anyways, to add a source, just click on the little plus button right here, and then you can select what you're going to be recording. Like you can do just audio capture, and you can do display capture, which will capture my monitor, for instance, or you could do like a projector or something. And I've never done text. What that basically is you can, I actually have messed around with this a little bit, but what you can type in a little menu that it'll give you, you can resize it on the screen. So this is a good thing for streaming, that you could put some text on the screen if you want to enable that, I guess, with one of your hotkeys. An image also as well would be good. You could put some sort of layout on your stream, like you could have the video over here on the right side, your webcam, etc. There's a lot of different stuff. But if you want to do window capture, this will just capture a basic window. So I'm just going to call it OBS, and if I do that, let's select, oh, there's no windows to select actually. Okay, well, that's fine. But basically what you would do is you click on the window. Let me just get an example for you. Let me open up File Explorer. So yeah, let me, hold on, very sorry about that. Just gotta refresh it. There we go. So I got my File Explorer here. And then if you just go in here, you can switch between windows. And this right here, you can change title, window class, executable name. Like the executable name is explorer.exe. The window class, I can't remember what that is. I've never totally figured that out. I don't know. It's a little tricky, but change these depending on what type of options you're getting. Like if something's not appearing correctly on your screen, change these. Mess around with that. You can do window title, etc. That's that right there. And also, if you want to do game capture, which I like doing most of the time, you can do full screen application, and that will capture anything full screen. So if your game, so let's say Dead by Daylight, that goes full screen. So if I'm going to capture Dead by Daylight, I use this one right here, and it'll capture the application in there. And if it's not appearing, do multi-adapter compatibility. Try that. Don't force scale any full screen applications, because it'll be the resolution of your monitor, which should be your base resolution, which we set earlier. Just leave that like that. Allow transparency. Don't know why you'd really want to do that, but you can, I guess. Limit capture frame rate. I don't recommend doing that. It's not really going to affect you anyways, because we just set the frame rate a little bit ago. Capture cursor, totally up to you, whatever you want to do. So if you don't have capture cursor enabled, they won't see your mouse cursor in the video. If you do, they'll see it in the video. Anti-cheat compatibility hook, just leave that on. It doesn't really affect anything. And capture third-party overlays. This is the thing, like it says such as Steam. Like if your friend comes online and it pops up in the bottom right, if this isn't enabled, it won't capture that, which is really nice. I really like that. Very nice touch. OBS developers, whatever. let's go on to the specific window side too. So this again, select your window here, window title, all that, multi-adapter, force scaling. This is where I would recommend that you force the scaling of the window, because if you're going to record Minecraft in just the windowed mode, it's got the little whatever, I guess it's got the edges around it. It's got your taskbar down here, top title of the application up there. So it's not going to be entirely the size of your monitor unless you're full screen. But if you scale it, like if I'm going to do 1920 by 1080p, that will make it so it'll fit this entire box perfectly. It will get rid of all of this here. And so yeah, that's that. And then that's pretty much it for that. Third-party overlays, just like that. And that's pretty much it for this right here. I can just get rid of this because I don't want to capture this. And I'll show you, I can, these eyes right here, when they're white and there's no line across them, that means they're enabled and you'll be able to see them in your recording. And then if you click it again, it'll toggle it. You can't see it in the recording. And you can have multiple selected too. So I suppose that's why allow transparency is. Because if there's a little transparency in the application, I guess, I don't know, that would be what it does. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the OBS settings. I know this was a long one, but I tried to make it as in-depth as possible. So if you really enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Maybe even check out a couple more videos before you do that too, just to make sure you like it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Share this video if it helped you out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hello everybody, welcome to Sky Factory 2.5, and today we're going to be working on getting some transfer nodes and automating our cobblestone because we really got to get working on that sort of stuff.
We have been talking about Sky Factory, and we have discussed that we are slacking. We're going slow.